Welcome back to Weird Stuff in a Can. Today we've got cake flavoured beer. So today I've got a can of Northern Monk Black Forest Gateau Stout, which is a little bit of a change to the intended schedule for Weird Stuff in a Can, because I intended to bring you this tripe, traditional recipe tripe from Spain, together with saffron milk caps in a can, which I also bought in Spain. However, a small change of fortune means I can't very easily open these cans and mess around with semi-liquid contents and sauces. I broke my finger yesterday. I won't talk too much about this, but obviously I like to try and keep these dressings clean. So we're going to go for something which hopefully I can open with one hand. I'll talk more about what's happened to the other hand, probably in a random stuff episode. Anyway, the show must go on. On with the show. I am a bit of a sucker for these flavoured stouts. I like dark beers, porters, stouts, ruby ale, those sort of dark malty beers anyway. And I'm a total sucker for flavoured, especially dessert flavoured stouts. So let's have a look at what we've got. This is an 8% alcohol stout. Ingredients: water, malted barley, oats, lactose, cocoa powder, hops, vanilla, natural flavours, yeast. So natural flavours I think must be the cherry. If you're not familiar with Black Forest Gateau, it is a traditional German style of cake. It's a chocolate cake with cream and cherries in it and a sour cherry liqueur, Kirschwasser. So this is attempting to taste something like that, I think. What else is there to say? A proper Black Forest Gateau is devilishly rich and elegantly boozy. Dark chocolate and sweet cherry flavours combine in a lavishly decadent stout. Sounds good. So let's open it up and see what we've got. I think we'll use this Palmer's glass. Now this is cooled to cellar temperature. So cellar temperature is not chilled. It is cold. It happens to be the kind of ambient temperature of the outside at the moment. Actually, it's quite cold here on the 7th of December here in Dorset. I might have poured that with a little bit too much head, but on a stout, a head is not a flaw. So we've got a very, very dark stout, as stout should be. In fact, you can probably get a better idea of the darkness of it from that bit around there. So it's not black, it's just very, very dark brown. Let's have a sniff. And to the nose, I'm getting the cherry straight away. And yeah, there is vanilla and chocolate there too. Okay, tasting time. Okay, right. Now when I taste beers, which I do quite a lot, and especially on my Instagram page, actually, it's pretty much the only thing I post on Instagram is my beer reviews, but they've leaked into Weird Stuff in a Can today. Anyway, what I try to do is describe what happens in stages when you drink this. So first, the cherry aroma is very prominent. That fruity, marzipan-y sort of, I think benzaldehyde is the flavour chemical. That's the thing that hits you first. And I think that's because that's on the nose. Following behind the cherry, you get the dark malt together with a little hit of bitterness from the hops. And then the chocolate and the vanilla come in. And really at the end, it is very much vanilla, chocolate, malt, hops, just lingering towards the end. Yeah, happy with that diagnosis. So cherries on the front end, hoppy bitterness hits just after, but then subsides, and then the vanilla is prominent over the top of the chocolate, but with the malts and the hoppy bitterness as another layer underneath. And the bitterness of the hops lingers quite significantly. That's not bad. And for a dessert stout, it's not overpoweringly sweet. Some of these, especially the kind of chocolate fudge brownie, marshmallow, whatever, are often a little bit on the sweet side, and they lack that refreshing bitterness. This one's got it balanced quite nicely. I'm just going to have to stop and just take the thumbnail. Right, where were we? So, quite a lot going on in this one, actually. There is something quite nice about having fruity flavours and chocolate and creamy vanilla flavours as well. Obviously, that's why Black Forest Gateau is popular. You know, the original cake version of what this beer is trying to emulate. So yeah, there's a reason why these flavours work well together. They are tried and tested. Do I like this enough to buy another can of it? I think so. This is going to be quite an interesting Christmas beer, I think. This is something I could definitely imagine pairing nicely with maybe Christmas pudding even. Maybe this is a drink to have with a Christmas Day dessert. So one of those rich Christmas puddings or a piece of Christmas cake or something like that. I think that would pair quite nicely. Of course, this would go very well with chocolate cake. So yeah, cellar temperature is often misunderstood as English people like warm beer. So if you come from a culture where beer is served ice cold, you might be surprised to find that in Britain, or in England certainly, beer is not always served ice cold. And there are several good reasons for that. One is that a lot of these beers or styles of beer have been around since before refrigeration. And so traditionally they were not drunk ice cold. They were drunk cellar temperature. The pub or inn where you enjoyed them would not have a fridge because fridges didn't exist. And so the barrels would be kept in a cellar under the ground. And since ales are definitely a winter thing because the harvest comes at the end of the summer, and so you've got your barley to make your beer. So ales have a peak in autumn, winter. So it would be as cold as the weather would allow it to be, or as cold as the ambient conditions would allow it to be. But okay, why did that persist beyond the invention of the fridge? Well, I think it's probably true that in a traditional English ale, especially the darker English ales, there are a lot of flavours to taste. There are different varieties of malts, there are different varieties of hops. There was expected to be flavour, and so chilling it down to ice cold suppresses the perception of that flavour. So cellar temperature, which is still cold but just not ice cold, is a little bit closer to the temperature where those flavours start to burst out and volatilise in your mouth and in your nose, and so you taste more. And so cellar temperature as a kind of ongoing tradition is often about having the beer at a temperature where you're going to taste it properly. Now, of course, once it hits your mouth, it's warming up anyway because your mouth is warmer than the beer. But a cellar temperature beer has a bit more of a head start in that process. So that's it. We don't drink our beer warm here in England, or I don't anyway, but it is not as cold as ice cold, and that might come as a surprise to some people. It's about tasting the product. There's so much to taste in here, and even in a not so novelty beer, even in a traditional English ale, there's all of those different notes from the malts and the hops and the fermentation process itself. There's so much to taste that cellar temperature just gives your taste buds a head start on the process of experiencing the beer. That's what I think about it anyway. Now, that's not to say that I don't enjoy sometimes an ice-cold lager on a hot summer day. Just because you enjoy one thing doesn't mean you have to hate all the other things. So there we go. That's been Weird Stuff in a Can. As I say, slight divergence from the plan because of this thing. That's Northern Monk Black Forest Gateau Stout, Weird Stuff in a Can, if you can call it that. I've enjoyed that, and I think I've enjoyed it enough to buy another can of that or two, and that might accompany my Christmas Day pudding. So I hope that's been interesting. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.